from all of us, in view of the fact that I'm here to learn, and I'm also hoping that you do have some takeaway at the end of my presentation. Now, impact of national values on development, the international perspective. There is actually, if you ask me, as a layman, when we talk about national values, I listen to Mr. David. And I normally come in, if I have a lecture like this, I normally like to come in 10 minutes before my lecture so that I can also learn some things. And I've learned a lot. And talk about national values. Values refers to those things that essentially that we cherish. Values refers to anything that we cherish and that we hold in high esteem. There's anything that you cherish as a group of people or individuals and you hold in high esteem and you are ready to protect with everything that you have. That thing refers to values. Now, the line between values and norms is to the fact that norms are expectations, requirements which you are expected to fulfill, meaning that when something is normative, it's something like going colloquial, something that is normal, ideal, expected, required. But values are deeper than norms because values are more or less entrenched in the blood of individuals that appreciate them. Meaning that norms may not get to the level of your blood. When something becomes of value, you'll be doing it even without being told. You may not even know anywhere you go to. When it has become your value, you do it unconsciously. When something is a norm, you need to be told to do it. And that is where we've gotten to. There's a value one of my values is about quality assurance. When I have a lecture, I have an appointment, give me 10, I'll be there by 9. I always give 1 hour, maybe because I'm from Lagos. I always give 1 hour ahead. Anything can happen. And it's a value. So unconsciously, I'm always prepared. Deliberately, if you give me 10, I will be there before 9 and sit down. I'll be waiting for you. So it has become a value. So, and when you talk about development is more encompassing. It's more encompassing than growth because development reflects social, economic, and every other dimension. Meaning that a lot of people misconstrue development for growth, but I want us to have it at the back of our mind that growth is an aspect of development, meaning that it's possible for you to have growth and yet you may not have development. So, we are trying to look at the impact of national values on development from the international perspective. And before I go ahead and speak to my slide, the international perspective comes in view of the fact that we are now in a globalized society. The world is a global village. Mr. David told us that Nigeria has 774 local government areas. And I know that as at last count, according to Inoli, in 1990, Nigeria has over 500 ethnic groups. And each ethnic group, each of these 500, has thousands of dialects. Meaning that we're in a country of thousands of dialects and nothing less than 500 ethnic groups. And yet you are talking about national values. You are talking about national values. And I also recall that last year I won a grant with Ford Foundation, and that grant was a 6-month grant, and I submitted the report April this year to Ford Foundation. The title of the project is National Cohesion and Polarization in Nigeria. National Cohesion and Polarization in Nigeria. Meaning one of the concepts that Mr. David mentioned when he was talking about trust. No, I was laughing with me because I actually went to all the 774 local government areas in Nigeria using my research assistant. They were all the states in Nigeria, inclusive of Abuja, the FCT, and we were able to meet with all. And the issue of trust, among other issues, came in from that research. So now let me speak to my slide. Values evolve with the needs of time, space, and events as catalysts for change in human society, meaning that values are essential. And I also recall that sometimes in 1983, all of us were around, something happened. There was a change in government, and that change in government brought in Buhari and Idiagbon regime. And I also recall that when they came in, one of the things they didn't get right was that they tried to enforce Nigerians to do certain things rightly. You must queue at the bus stop. When you get to bank, you don't need to be told. You must take a queue. Once you come in as the last person, you must maintain that person. Don't jump queue. Don't siphon money. And a lot of things were done until that regime was overthrown August 1985. And immediately they were overthrown. Nigerians went back and became worse than before that regime came into being. Why? Because what they did, Buhari and Idiagbon did, was that they tried to change norms. Those norms did not graduate to the level of values. Okay? We are just being forced. We are being told, don't jump when you get to. I remember one in Lagos. Don't jump expressway. You must climb the bridge. if you thank you, they will pick you up. You do frog jump, they will beat you up, And immediately they were overthrown. Say, thank God. We started jumping the expressway, We started jumping the queue. And those things eventually, because before they came in, that was our value. They came in momentarily and they tried to change it. But the timing and the strategies they used did not allow it to get into value. We were being forced. We didn't know why we must do it. And eventually, up to now, we are worse. We are worse than before that 1993 coup. Meaning that those things did not get to the level of values. And this paper discusses the impact of national values and development from an international perspective. Yes, the international perspective I was saying something about globalization. We're in a global village where the whole world is universalized, where what is happening as I'm talking to you can get a feedback from all corners in the world. This presentation the organizers can put it online and you begin to get response from every part of the world. We're in a global village. And the same way and manner, the values that we share in Nigeria are also globalized. They're also internationalized. And one that will be of interest to us is actually what really happened, which Mr. David mentioned, the Trump intervention in Nigerian security architecture. And I thank God that we have military officers, and I recall that when that intervention came, I was with some generals and rear admirals. And one thing I told them as to do with the fact that intervention is likely to be the tonic, the international tonic that we need, the global tonic that we need to wake us up. And since Trump, you may not like Trump. Personally, I don't like him. But what he has done for us, very soon we may begin to appreciate him. Around 1 a.m., when I saw that breaking news, Minister for Defense resigned. That's the effect. General Musa likely was at Aso Rock yesterday. That's the effect. Something is coming up. Something is coming up. So a lot of this international attention, a lot of this intervention can actually assist us in bringing about the needed development that we require and also instill the values that we need. If you have ever worked with the military men, you will know they are not that happy. Because the other day, one minister was there and the minister came here. And you look at the CV, like that, ordinarily this person should have been minister. Talk less of manning this particular ministry. I don't know if you're getting it. But when we have capable people, where everything should not be politicized, but you have capable individuals manning certain strategic positions, not all positions are open. Some positions are strategic. Minister for Defense is a strategic ministry. That's the fact. It's a strategic ministry. Because you'll be working with Chief of Army Staff, Chief of Defense Staff, Chief of Navy Staff, Chief of Air Staff. And these are people you may not know. These are people that are very strategic. And they need to build trust. They need to trust you before they open up on their security architecture. I don't know if you're getting it. And when they see someone that looks like them, who has the same values, they are likely to open up. And we may be able to get there. Now, this paper proposition, the Chartism reforms, principle for better society, as a framework for instilling values for Nigeria, for change. Now, essentially, the motto for NIPS is towards a better society. I mean that no one comes here and go back the same way he came. No one comes in here, either as a directing staff, as a participant, as a course attendant, you cannot live the same way you came. You will be better than you came. And this case study design demonstrates that government agencies are values enforcers and development agents under purposive organizational culture and transformative leadership. So much has been said about Mr. President. He has his plans, he's a reformist, he's a transformative leader, and he also needs people around him that can be able to now translate this vision into action. And one of them has to do with whoever he puts in a particular position. They go a long way to say a lot. Now, this paper recommends the reinforcement of existing intervention like SAFICOM as effective spearhead in value orientation for national change in Nigeria and for international attention. I recall before coming to NIPS as a directing staff, I've been going around the world and I know what I've observed. The way they treat you at the airport, Sadivi mentioned the way they attend to you, the way they see you when they see the green passport, the way they perceive you, And I recall my first time of entering the U.S. I went through secondary inspection. Secondary inspection is that even though you have a visa, you are already in the U.S., they will ask you if you are a first-time traveler to the U.S., be on a separate line. If you are not a first-timer, be on another line. And whenever you find yourself as a first-timer and you are a black, and they also see that you are using Nigerian passports, you go through secondary inspection. Secondary inspection in the sense that they will gently tell you, please, can you follow us? And take you to a room, and you'll be there. And interestingly, I was invited by University of Oregon to come and deliver a lecture in Oregon. Oregon State. And I was to connect a flight from California to Oregon. And I was going through secondary inspection. And I told them I have a flight to connect. He said, no, don't worry, Prof. What they were doing, they were calling the university to confirm if they were waiting for me. And that took almost about 1 hour. And by the time they called and said, we are waiting for him, we are at the airport to pick him. Please, let him be coming. And I missed the flight. As soon as I got there, they said, no problem, Prof. We'll put you in the next flight. We delayed you. We'll put you in the next flight. And they did. The next flight, I got to Oregon. And when I got to Oregon and I complained, the white men I met in the US told me that they also passed through the same process some times ago. Not all of them are Americans. Some are Germans, Some are from Europe who work in the US. So they've gone through it, not just blacks. And to me, I've never gone through that you delay me for 1 hour to confirm wherever I'm going. But I also had a reversal when I now got to NIPS, and NIPS, because of the presidency, gave me a blue passport, diplomatic passport. That diplomatic passport, the first time I used it, it was in January this year, when I was going to Qatar. As soon as I got to the airport, they simply put diplomatic passport this way, others this way. And I found myself the only person on that diplomatic passport, and I was just cleared. Now, that says a lot. It says a lot about the international perspective of the kind of values which they think that you owe as a group of people or as an individual, and which we all know that once they see that you are a Nigerian, the first thing that will come to you, the climate of discipline, according to Chinua Achebe. I will talk about that later. Values are coincides to reciprocal evolution with time, space, and events according to needs of human society. Nigeria is continuously going through social, political, and economic time, space, and events of change, requiring value orientation on the principles of right and wrong. Certain things are not right and certain things are basically wrong. I know what I've observed is that Nigerians, we obey international norms, international rules than our own rules. What do I mean by that? I can jump queue in Nigeria, but once I find myself outside Nigeria, I behave very well. You know what you behave. You don't need to be told. And you realize that you comport yourself and you begin to ask, if you do the same thing, if you have this kind of orientation, if you behave the same way in Nigeria, Nigeria will have been better than now. If you have the same posture, the same composition, the same mannerism in Nigeria, it's likely we will have left where we are. So there are certain things that are wrong. I mean, that is not that we don't know things are wrong. We know things are wrong. But it's like we are, there's an atmosphere of, there's a name they call it in military, They have some language in military. They say, this work must be due. Am I correct? It's a language. This work must be due, to the bloody civilian, this work must be done. But to military, this work must be due. And you have the atmosphere, we know things are wrong. But there's atmosphere of nothing happens. After all, someone has done it. That person did it. After he has done it, he became an ambassador and nothing happens. Someone has done it. After doing it, the person became a governor. What happens? So if I do it, it's also likely I will also get a promotion for doing it. But in developed world, it is the other way around. Let me tell you, Donald Trump is still going to go through a lot after his tenure in office. The judiciary, they are waiting. His cases are still there in the US. That can happen in Nigeria. I think I heard either Mr. Kunle Junaid or our army officer, one of them asked a question about the fact that it's only in Nigeria that we have strong individuals and very weak institutions. You are the one. Weak institutions. But over there, strong institutions. Donald Trump is an individual. Just believe it. They are waiting for Donald Trump. But nothing can happen to anybody in Nigeria. Nothing. And so the process for national change aims at need to evolve the climate of discipline towards a better society. If you don't have this discipline as an ethos, let me also tell you, not until when I came to NIPS and I became directing staff to military officers, generals, and I relate to them and supervise them and teach them, I soon realized that these are very disciplined people, and that's why they are different from us. They are very disciplined. And to also shock you, they are very brilliant. They are very disciplined, well-trained, and they are also more exposed than some of our bloody civilians. They have opportunities. I don't know if you're getting it. You'll be shocked. You always look down and think that they are just putting on the uniform and maybe they are brilliant upstairs. I don't know if you're getting it. I've related with officers who are very sound. There's one that is currently with me and we are working together. He's a Navy captain, very top officer, brilliant guy. But I call him now, he's waiting for me in the office. And you always realize that these are people who are very brilliant. They anything, and because it's not because of anything, but because of discipline, which the general society seems not to. But unfortunately, The same indiscipline seems to be permeating the military, because like they're also getting a feel that the civil society, they are doing it and nothing is happening. Now, the intricacies of such programs often create strategic challenge of who, where, and how to apply and implement desired core values. Now, these are values. The core ones are essential to the survival of society. Who are to implement them, and where and how are they going to be implemented? These are very important questions. Midnight, there was a discussion that took us about 30 minutes as to, we are trying to make a recommendation. I would say that the vice president should head a particular committee, a commission. And someone said, in this part of the world, if most vice presidents like deputy governors, they are like spare tires, that if you want this commission to work, why not let us put president? And another argument, Mr. President is already overwhelmed. If you ask him to come and share this commission, even the one is to share, he has not even been able to share it. And I bet you by the time we reconvene by 4 p.m., we'll continue that argument. Because Mr. President cannot do everything, but because we know that it's part of our culture that every vice is always a suspect. Every vice, either deputy governor, vice chairman of a local government, vice president, for political coloration, some of them are always under watch. So these are better observed in examples of existing institutional framework among leading agencies responsible for national orientation, leadership, development, and values and regulatory enforcers. These are necessary for international attention. National Orientation Agency, they are doing their best. Normally, I listen to Mr. Onisa Oniluye regularly, and the man, you are pulling your weight. My own prayer is just that Nigerians, we need a lot. We need to go deeper. We have a lot to do to be able to change our values. Now, the banner of national orientation is carried by the National Orientation Agency, established to conduct national orientation for national change. The National Institute for Policy and Strategic Studies conduct research on policy and strategies and equip national leaders with intellectual skills and capacity to lead as transformation agent of change towards a better society. That is where you are here. Eventually, you are going to be the agent of this change, the change of national values and development from international perspective, to an extent that we begin to have international respect. But for now, that international respect is not there, because every Nigerian is always a suspect. Imagine if American Embassy can deny Chief of Defense Staff visa. Just imagine if American Embassy they have no regard for any one of us. If they can deny Chief of Defense Staff, because they have this feeling that we are the same people. And I recall my first time of applying for visa, for US visa, was in 2005, 20 years ago. I recall it was $100. Dollar was still okay then. I think it should be around 165 naira to $1. Yes, I think $150 to $150 naira to $1. I think the $100 then should be 150,000. And I think I was at the embassy. I was to attend a conference in the US, California, and the person that interviewed me, a secondary school person, asked me just one question: Have you bought the ticket? And I simply asked him, I haven't gotten visa. And he said, I'm sorry, I'll deny. I said, please go ahead. And I left. And I vowed I will not go back to that embassy. I will not go back to this embassy. And I recall by the time University of Oregon invited me, and they asked me that, have I been to that? I said, no, that I was at the embassy and this is what happened. They said, no, don't worry, we'll bring it to US. And when I got to the embassy, they now asked me, my second time, you've been to more than 20 countries. We realized you've not been to the US. I said, yes. Why? I said, because I've not been invited. We'll give you 5 years visa. I said, thank you. And I left. Meaning that when they know that they denied me in 2005, and I vow that I will not use my money to go and play tickets at the embassy, because I'm not running to anywhere. I'm not a suspect. I'm okay. I'm good. And knowing fully well that this man has traveled to more than 20 countries, and US is not in the list of countries he has been to. And they asked me, the only question they asked me, why have you not been to the US? I said, because I've not been invited. I don't know, you will go. Do you understand? So we always say like a suspect, people that want to go in, that you are, it's like you. So every one of us, even military officers, you are seen as a suspect, and that is not the way we are. And that's one of the things we must show them, that we are serious set of people. The Saficom or Service Compact is an agency with a charter for value-oriented service delivery, with network of referee representatives in all government ministry, departments, and agencies to ensure adherence to chartered principles of value orientation for national development. These are things, if that permits, we look at it. Now, we should just look at brief literature and authoritative commentaries on functions of NOA, NIPS, and Savicom, which revolves around performance and inadequate impact of these agencies and the need for effective results. The NIPS study team of 2005 that's 20 years ago, on national values orientation for sustainable economic development concludes and recommends for the need to pursue values orientation for national development. Because it's only when we've been able to imbibe what is expected, the global recognition, because we are in a universal age, that you can begin to look at what and we are manner they will look at us outside. This literature narrative covers the functions, responsibility, and effectiveness of the trio of noun, names, and servicum. And also, we're going at 2010 analysis the importance of ethics in leadership and how ethics produces effective leaders. And that is where we are. Academy 2010 evaluates Nigeria's latest orientation slogans of great people, great nation, and conclude that Nigerians need indeed aspire for a great nation. Great nation is not a rhetoric. We must work towards it. And it must start with our values. Our values, we have values. Interestingly, the last speaker mentioned it. Every culture that I know in Nigeria has its own value. And none of these values, allow for certain things that our societies are allowing. You don't celebrate wealth. I've never seen any culture in Nigeria where people are celebrated irrespective of your source of income, that you must just celebrate wealth. But now that is what is being done. I have the concept of money na water, in which case, the social media slogan that money is now water, and that if you want it, you just open it and it will just flow. That is not part of our culture. Money na water is not part of our culture. It's something that is not, and it's not even from developed world. So it's not social media per se. It's something, you have a lot of things happening. You mentioned trust. We have left that. Our problem is even more than trust. Just add one this morning in Okene. A mother kidnapped her baby. A mother kidnapped her own 4-year-old baby with the intention of collecting 5 million naira from the father, her husband. Though. So do you know? There are certain things that are so strange. You just hear it and begin, are we okay? Are we okay? Your own son, baby, 4-year-old, kidnapped, abducted by yourself. You gave birth to the baby. You abducted the baby with only one intention, to siphon your husband for 5 million naira. You've been hearing that father kill a mother, son kill a mother, So, but this one is another dimension. So you begin to see different dimensions. You begin to ask, are we okay? Are you getting? So the chartism principles grew out of the early practice of using charters to establish needed reformative values, informal writing statements, laws, and regulations, describing right and responsibility aimed at betterment of conditions for citizens. Backed by shorter theory of basic human values, chartism principles occur as culturally universal values. They are culturally universal values. In the US, you don't need to. When I went to US in July, I was in US in July this year, and they took me to, I was in the University of Chicago. Later, I went to Chicago State University. The difference is less than 10 minutes. Chicago State University and University of Chicago. And in between, I was taken to a place. When I went to University of Chicago, they took me to the building that the former president of US, I forgot his name, this man. No, not Jimmy Carter. No, the one before. No, before Clinton. No. Barack Obama. No, Obama was a lecturer in University of Chicago, and he was teaching the Faculty of Law. Obama lived in this building, as a staff quarter. And from this building, he became a senator. From senator, he became US president. Merit-driven society. Merit-driven society. If a professor should sleep and dream that he became president of Nigeria in a dream, tell him to wake up. Tell that professor to tap him. Prof. You are not just dreaming. You are going through some fever. Because we do not value ideas. A professor cannot even become a counselor. Merit is out. It is who you know. And such will not drive any society to development. Such will not drive any society to development. To become a councillor of a local government, in a local government, and I'm sure you need millions of naira to become a councillor. Now, so these are culturally universal values, often domesticated and introduced for betterment of human society. Most of them have been domesticated, but yet we are not there. The theme of our presentation, which we are hoping to do on Thursday, is on blue economy and sustainable development in Nigeria, issues, challenges, and opportunities. Blue economy, a lot of things have been domesticated. For the first time, we have a ministry of blue economy in 2023. Developed world are making a lot of money from blue economy. A lot of people are being employed from blue economy. But people just say, we have done research for 10 months, all night. We are hoping that when the report is submitted and accepted by Mr. President, it will be implemented. Last year, Sec 46, we worked on digital economy and sustainable development issues, challenges, and opportunities. The report has been received. By the time we got the feedback from Mr. President, the Minister for Coordinating Ministry was here, Bala Usman. And she told us the President appreciated our report. And the President told her This is an excellent report, but there's a problem. The report is too big. That you produce 600 pages report and you had 35 minutes presentation of 200 slides. So we are trying to cut our presentation, bearing in mind the warning of last year, to something that will not, that so you work it. So even the English, we are reducing the English. That don't speak big English. Something that we attract. I don't know you are getting it. And we have reduced almost 600 to almost 400 pages report now, because we are cutting a lot of things. That we need this thing to be worked on. I don't know you are getting it. In developed world, we will not have feared that. It's most likely they will even tell you that you should increase the volume size of your report. So you have a lot of things. Mr. President sent us to Brazil in August. We're in Brazil. A lot of things have been done in this blue economy. A lot of money have been made. Energy, enough fish. I don't know if you're getting it. Let me leave there. Now, the institutional responsibilities of these three agencies of now, NIMS and Savicom also correspond to universal accepted basic human values as Chartism principles. It is on this premise that this paper attempts to examine the impact of national values on development from international perspective. Following statements. The main thrust for value orientation for national development and national change and development is statutorily headed by NOAA, with structure and a network at federal, you mentioned it, state and local government tiers, MDAs across Nigeria. The required transformative leaders will come from the dual mandate of NIPS with continuous infusion the highest skill cadre leaders, equipped with knowledge, people like you, equipped with knowledge, skills, network, and outreach to lead the country to desired goals. The chartered responsibilities of Savicom are for ethical and regulatory enforcement at MDAs level. There is attention paid to international perspective on national values and national development. Now, these are part of inquiry. I want us to just look at them. What are the concept and correlation of national orientation, national change, and national development? Which value principles aim at national development in Nigeria? What really are we? What is our core value as a country? I mentioned US. Meritocracy, and I do tell my students that if you say US is meritocracy, then Nigeria is monetocracy. Nigeria is what? Monetocracy. Because we worship money, and we worship money because a lot of things revolves around that. Who is responsible for the implementation of these principles? You've gotten to a point where you begin to even get afraid. Who can stand up and implement these values? Who are those who still retain these values? I don't know if you're getting it. And where are the point of impact for desired result? How can this desired impact be achieved and reflect in international perception of Nigerians? How can this reflect in the way they see you and I? Do I need to travel with blue passport before I'm okay? I mean, if the blue passport will expire, it's 5 years, after which I may not be able to renew it again, except if another appointment comes. But the green one is the one I'm supposed to use as a citizen of Nigeria. Should I continue to rely on the blue? I don't know if you're getting it. There's a limit. I mean that we need to work towards making sure that all these things are done so that we can be able to get our impact. And I will skip some values, and I will define values. I learned this Nigerian War College. In Nigerian War College, they were in National Work about a week ago. Is it War College or one military training school? Army War College. And they planned to deliver their presentation for Mr. President for 30 minutes. When they got there, they were told they have only 15 minutes. And those guys struggled to just make the presentation. I don't know if you're getting it. And, it's not the picture, but when you are prepared so much, so now we are trying to prepare for 30 minutes presentation. We are also getting prepared for the shock that if they tell you that Mr. President can only listen for 20 minutes, we are also getting prepared. We have, plan A, you have plan B, so that in case any instruction comes. And I also recall the last one, the one we went for last year. It came under 24 hours. The notification, you receive it last 24 hours. All of you just have to hurry and move down. And so it's set out to correlate the national development and that of transformative leadership and reliable implementation of existing charter principles. This presentation concludes the triad of NOAA, NIPS, Savicom are critical to effective value orientation for national development from international perspective. On these notes, in NIPS, because of time, I will not be able to go through all of them. When we make presentation of this in the NIPS, we make recommendations, and we also give strategic implementation. We call it implementation strategies. But because of time, I will not be able to display that. So NIPS, NOAA should create and mobilize the entire citizenry in a national direction. Thank God the director is there. Mobilize us. Because part of the issues is that, yes, because I'm in NIPS, we have 24 hours light here. But I know when I go back to my house, I'm not likely to have 24 hours light. And I know a lot of Nigerians who don't have light. So I don't know a lot of Nigerians who have the opportunity of seeing your DG. So there should be ways of, getting across to Nigerians who don't have access and who don't have availability and also affordability to be able to get the news. NIPS should emphasize on transformative leadership style in its policy research and training of. That is what we are doing. We are preparing transformers, transformative leaders. We should continue to do that. And all South-African outlets in the MDAs at all levels, we are all from MDAs. We are from either military or otherwise, all from MDAs. Should be made to implement existing chartered principles of value orientation for national development. Effort must be made towards doing that. On this one, let me say thank you for listening.
Thank you, Professor Elias Wahab, for enriching our understanding with global insights and perspectives. As we were making introductions, I was noting organizations that here, we monitoring and evaluation professionals, what we do is track everything. And with everybody represented here, I believe that we all interface with the international community within Nigeria and outside Nigeria. So I guess the question here is, how are we as individuals representing Nigeria and its values? Or we should be thinking about going forward. What values are we going to be representing as we liaise with the international community? So, Prof, we're going to give an opportunity for 2 questions. We're going to give the participants opportunities to ask 2 questions concerning your presentation.
The question I have to ask is, you did mention something about it while you were talking, that one of the participants at the point made a suggestion that if people that pass these trainings are not implementing or seem to be representing what they learn, there will be need for a withdrawal of MNI. Is follow-up to that, because what we have observed is that Nigeria is very good in the books. You cannot fault us policy-wise. You cannot fault us in so many things that had to do with guidelines, principles, and all of that. Ethics and all. But at the implementation or practicality level, it is zero. These things are ignored, practically ignored. So in view of that, as a follow-up to that, what kind of system needs to be put in place to enforce, these trainings, these seminars, the product of these recommendations that is being churned out from NIPS, as a strategic policy and implementation body. And aside that, several of us, I came from National Commission for Refugees along with several of my directors there. And the fact is that there is a lot of cost associated with it. All the persons there, pulling them from their duty lines and all that to come for this type of training. And even you are supposed to come tomorrow, but you need to rush to. So a lot of a lot of issues. But it pains the heart that after all of this, nothing comes out of it. So what system could be put in place? What can be done to ensure that this kind of value rendition get results, get implemented?
Thank you. Let me answer your question this way. I can't remember the year now. The SEC. One particular SEC, I think it should be about 8 years ago, the team of that SEC was on national security. I will remember, a member of that SEC is now a Deputy Inspector General of Police and is around. And he told me that particular SEC, part of the recommendations they made has to do with the fact that we need a state police. So back as 8 years ago. And that immediately that was done. That DIG and the current NSA became DIG at the same time. Okay? And that they discussed it, and the NSA, meaning that a lot of our leaders, they know what is next. Our problem is not that we don't know the right thing to do, but we are looking at the political correctness of what is expected of us to do. Political correctness is part of our problems, because as a sitting president, I'll be looking at, if I decide to do the proper thing, won't I lose the next election in your state? I don't know if you are getting it. So it's not that people don't know. Now, what happened? Just last week, the 6 regions, I saw that of Southwest, all the Southwest governors, they met, I think in Abeokuta or Ibadan, and they put on uniform, and they agreed. I think Northwest, all the governors, the 7 of them, they met, and they agreed that they will be donating 1 billion naira per month from their security vote for security, regional security. Can we see we are moving towards state police? Because Nigerian police cannot do it alone. That's the fact. Even the military, it's unfortunate. You don't know if you lose a brigadier general in a battle. You don't know the level of a brigadier general in a battle. I don't know if you're getting it. To lose a brigadier general in a battle, I don't know the equivalence of it, number of soldiers, over 5,000. One brigadier general is equal to 5,000 soldiers. And you lost one in the US. That will not have a problem. That place, all the people that know about it, that even know about it, all of them will answer. And someone said, even Baba Yabo, if it's Baba Yabo, a lot of people, they will not, people will have even explained what they don't know. Don't ask, because it has a psychic. It's a win for ISWAP. Big one for that matter. I don't know it. It's a big one. So, what I'm saying is that NIPS is doing its own. NIPS cannot do more than what it is meant to do. To train, to prepare reports, to advise government. I don't know if you're getting it. NIPS cannot implement. If you submit to Mr. President, you can't force him to implement. You can't. Interestingly, Mr. President will immediately after presentation last year, he called the secretary to the government of the Federation, SGF. Please call all the ministers. Bosun Tijani, Minister for Digital Economy, was seated. Implement this report. This is excellent. And we all smiled. And we had our dinner and we left. There's nothing else we can do. That Adisa Usman told us that a report was too big and that we should reduce it. It's a privilege. So NIPS cannot do more than that. I don't know if you're getting it. Then you cannot, as a directing staff, if I train someone later as a colonel, later to a brigadier general, to a general, I can always call him to advise him at the personal level. General, how are you doing? Is it true? That is not good. Why not do you understand? You can't do more than that. I don't know if you're getting it. At a friendship level, I don't know if you get it. So you can't force that person. The current commissioner for police in Kogi State, I trained him here last year. So if anything happens in Kogi, I can put up a call to him, Commissioner of Police. What is happening? You shouldn't have, you can't do more than that. I know we have platform, of a good platform. So you can always advise him on what to do. You can't do more than that. I don't you getting it. So that is one of the ways I think NIPS can actually assist in monitoring people who have passed through this place. Apart from that, you can't force people to take to your advice. I think I've been able to answer you a little bit. Thank you. Yes.
I am Brigadier General A. Eka from Defense Joint Doctrine Center. I want to first of all thank you for your wonderful rendition. It was very apt and it's very impactful. I also want to thank the organizers, that's the organizers of this wonderful workshop. It's coming at a very critical time for Nigeria, and I think the import of this will really assist us to have the correct direction and also to correct what we can correct within our space, because you said change begins from us. So if everyone here starts to do what he's supposed to do, I think we've started something. In NIPS, they will say Nigeria has the best policies, but the problem is policy somersault. Policy somersault, we do not have people that have the will to ensure that those policies comes to execution. And sir, the former speaker said something about a platform or a framework that has been put together to ensure appointees and political holders pass through this same workshop in order to imbibe this culture, this orientation, these values. I want to say, sir, that we should also look for other avenues to ensure we drive all these kind of trainings home. For instance, I'm a member of Sec 43, Getting Things Done. Getting things done in the sense that wherever we find ourselves, we make sure the right thing is done. We monitor ourselves, we talk to ourselves. And we also congratulate ourselves on our platforms. And whoever is not doing well, we advise ourselves. And the man will even be shy not to do the right thing because he will be bashed by his secmate. So I don't know, sir, at this time, because it has to do, it's beyond us attending this course. We have a wider space, a wider society. How can, I know that as institutions are weak, you've said so much, political correctness and all that. So my question is, how can we, in practical terms, intentionally make this thing to come to fruition? Because it is easier said. We have had this kind of robust discussions. You discover that the man will tell you, it's my turn. If your turn comes, you can do whatever you want to do. But this is my turn. I will do as I like, because if I go home to my village, they will ask me, so and so went there, and he has skyscrapers. You, what are you coming to tell us? So that is my question, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Brigadier General. Just let me answer Brigadier General. Brigadier General, I want to charge you. I don't know how much you ask to pay. You didn't mention MNI in your name. Please reintroduce yourself. MNI is a big one, and you're hiding it.
I am Brigadier General A. Eka, MNI.
Correct.
Thank you,
Sit
sir.
down. Now, not until I started training MNI. It's not easy. Night, day. And yesterday you came in by air, and you met someone in the flight, retired DIG, and you had a conversation with him. He told me that he met one general, and they had this conversation, That DIG is also a directing staff. We are working together here. So he told me, but I didn't know where I'm going to meet you. So, now, asking your question as to how can we now infect it, meaning that the problems are known to us, we also know the solution. What must we do to be able to do the needful? And I think it's very simple. Our values are known. Let's go back to our values. If there's any country where we worship God more than any other country in the world, it is Nigeria. We have more churches, more mosques than any country that I know. Nigeria is one of the few countries that I know that if I eat my foot against the word, Jesus, any smallest thing, even the one Jesus doesn't even know, any smallest thing, the first thing we call. Yet, the problems are with us. The solutions are also there. And a lot of us goes to church and mosque to ask certain things that government should solve to be solved in the mosque and church. Unemployment, you go to church and mosque. Is that a church? Is it a company? You are looking for a husband. You go to a church and mosque. Are they in display? Husband are in display there. But because government is not doing what it's supposed to do, a lot of things are now being taken over by church and mosque. By the way, I'm a Muslim. But I have to tell you, let's tell you the truth. I've been taken over by church and mosque. You now have a lot of Islamic organizations using the opportunity of it to bring people on board, General, if you know how Boko Haram started, I did the research in 2017, and I took me to Borno, and I will tell you, Boko Haram is a manifestation of our problem. We created Boko Haram. We created Boko Haram. Our leaders created Boko Haram. Poverty created Boko Haram. Because late Yusuf used poverty to drive people. And if you know the way they selected, poverty was giving them, there's a name they call it in Bono, motorcycle. Was giving motorcycle. There's a name they call it in Bono. You give motorcycle, and that, if you remember, if you join this Islamic organization, you will be given a motorcycle on hire purchase, and you'll be using it to make money. If you make money with it, after a certain period, and you are able to recoup some money, it will become your own. Who will not go there? People are going to church now. I know people are going to church, not because they want to go and worship God, because they know they will get 2-3 cups of rice. So, there's a church I know, they give people bread every Sunday and tea. It's getting to that level. If you go to that service, they will give it. So people, they have 3 service. There's morning service, 8 to 10. There's another one, 10 to 12. There's another one, 12 to 2. So some people deliberately, they will do the 8 to 10. They will do the 10 to 12. They will do the 12 to 2. So that they can collect 3 bread. No, that's the truth. It's getting to that level. Bread. So when you go there on Sunday, you collect 3 bread. Maybe they also give you 1,000. I know of one church. A friend of mine was given an appointment, and he said we should go and do Thanksgiving. And I followed him. And one man, the man was not mad. He was not mad, but he was a beggar. He deliberately entered the church and sat down. When I said who wants to give a confession, I take confession or something. The man put up his hand. You know why he put up his hand? He knew they would give him food and they would give him money. Eventually, the man came forward and he said, he said he wants to give his life to Jesus. Yes. So the man came forward and the pastor put his hand on his head. And the pastor was trying to push him. The man was not, he was insisting. He was supposed to fall down. The man did not fall down. The man pastor said, please take him away. Give him food and give him money, let him go. So the man did not come to worship God. He came because something must fly. He must take something away. So that is where we are. So the way forward is that Nigerians, all of us must put ourselves in the deck. Anywhere you find yourself on your table, do the right thing. And be praying and be hopeful that you also find people that will join hand with you in moving things forward. What I'm saying is that no individual can do it alone. But if you do your own, I do my own, he does his own, she does her own, it's likely Nigeria will move forward. But when we have this political correctness, when we're supposed to be, we're supposed to be together and fight these people who are fighting us. Instead of that, we are fighting ourselves. Then we are not helping issue. Do you understand, General? So, sir, I'm sorry, sir.
I found that the question became recurrent. How do we get to make this happen? That question has come up more than once. And it will be unfair for me to sit down here and allow Prof alone to wrestle and battle with the answers to that question. Now, we all know from the various cultures and backgrounds that we come from that there was a time in this country when the village headmaster was far more respected than the rich village trader. Does that sound familiar to you? That person that was the village headmaster would be invited for discussions, for advice, concerning how to make the community develop. The trader each year is a rich trader, but they'll say he's an illiterate. And that counted for something. Now, because that counted for something, the aspiration of most people was, I want to grow up and be like the village headmaster, so that I can be seen as educated, enlightened, and respected, not just a person who has money. This is the values that we're coming from in all our communities. In our communities, if somebody suddenly became rich in the past, very rich, and comes home and is displaying wealth, people become afraid of such a person. Has he gone to do juju? How did this money come about? Because we can't trace it to any known industry or endeavor. And so such a person is avoided. People distance themselves because they don't know the source of this wealth that the person is displaying. That is no longer the case today. That's where our problem lies. It's not that we have never been a people of culture, a people of values, and a people of integrity. We allowed ourselves to get to a point where the devil deceived us into believing that all that matters is material, wealth, and position. Whereas that is not true, even if you are applying your simple sense. There have been people who were very wealthy, very, very rich. They died. They didn't take those wealth along with them. There are many examples. A time in this country, if you are counting the richest people in Africa, you will count Abdullah. He had all kinds of properties. He had an airline, Concorde Airlines, had newspapers, had all the things you can think that are associated. He was respected globally. And then the man, all of that decayed. When you're talking about leadership today, people don't even remember to mention his name, in spite of the sacrifice that Abiola made for democracy. So what is this craze for wealth? To impress one another, just for a short period of time. What are we teaching our children in our various homes? Because our children are the holders of tomorrow's heritage for this country. Are we telling them that money is more important than the duty of care? Are we teaching them that it's more important to be wealthy, irrespective of how you get the wealth? What are we doing to ensure that implementation starts? We took one step, and you'll be shocked at the outcome. We started engaging with Nigerian traditional rulers. That is the association of all traditional rulers in this country. And we said to them, if you bestow a traditional title on somebody, and the person is later found to be a corrupt person, if he's convicted in the court of law, then we think that you should be derobed as a traditional ruler. It means you don't have good sense of judgment, and you are not promoting the correct values that will lead our country. That invited an indictment from the leadership at the highest level at that time when we were promoting. But those are practical steps you can take. We celebrate ill-gotten wealth in church, in mosques, in communities. We don't interrogate. The implementation and the solution for implementation, it lies with all of us. It doesn't even lie with, I disagree that it lies with government. If somebody becomes extraordinarily wealthy and we cannot tie that wealth to production, to capacity that led to one thing that led to another and produced this wealth, can we stigmatize that person and the entire family and refuse to associate? That's how it was before. That's how it was before. It is today in our own time that we flipped it and we're so immoral and not matters apart from money. The same money that will not follow us anywhere when God calls us. And indeed, in due course of time, every one of us, God will call us. The solution lies with us. That implementation solution. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir.